Hey guys, welcome to another sewing tutorial on Jowins fashion Ville. It's a pleasure to have you guys around. Thank you so much for all those who have subscribed to my channel. I really do appreciate. And then for intending subscribers who are yet to subscribe, please kindly hit on the subscribe button to keep this channel going. Okay, thank you so much. And I will just keep making sure that I disseminate the right knowledge. Okay, so let's get started. So guys, on my work table I have a detailed corset pattern I've drafted, and I've done a tutorial on this before, and honestly guys, you need to check it out. It's as simplified and detailed as possible, and a beginner can comprehend as well. Okay, so right here on my pattern I have different sections. Okay, so we have the A, B, C, D and E. So what I'll do next is to go ahead and highlight the seam and allowance for my neckline. Okay, so that's exactly what I'm doing, and then I'll go ahead to draw the halter neckline. Okay, which will be emerging from the armhole to the neckline, so it's a symmetrical line. Okay, so I'll use my pattern master to do that. So you can virtually use the straight part of your pattern master or the curved section, so whichever works for you, it's okay, but I'm going to use the straight part of my pattern master to draw a straight line extending from the armhole to the neckline. Okay, so guys, lest I forget, for the Corset tutorial, I'll be dropping the link in my description box. You can go ahead to check it out. It's going to help out to a reasonable extent. Okay, so since the section A is going to be the yoke for our corset dress, I'll simply go ahead to close the upper chest dart so that I can get a uniform line there. So I'll simply go ahead to blend this, okay, like this. You can see what I'm doing. So with this now, I'll be able to cut out the section A as shown here. Okay, so having done this, what I'll simply do next is to blend the upper chest dart. Okay, the reason for this is so that we don't have the cups with different sizes. Okay, so I'll go ahead to place this on a new pattern paper, just a little piece, as you can see on my work table. Then I'll go ahead to use my marker pen to blend it properly. Okay, so that we won't have one cup longer than the other. Okay, so right now we have the cup and the lines matching each other. So having done this, I'll simply go ahead to cut it out. Okay, so yes, I think this is okay now. So it's clear now for us to see that the lines are well matched. So I can now go ahead to cut out the panels. Okay, so we have the front panels well assembled on my work table. I'll simply go ahead to work on the back. Yeah, so this is the back panel on my work table, and this is a zip allowance for this dress. Okay guys, so I'll go ahead to also highlight the seam allowance for the neckline. This is very important so that we don't have any form of shortage of the total length of the dress. Okay, so I'll go ahead to highlight this, and then I'll also create the halter neck for the back. Okay, so I'll connect the neckline to the armhole with my pattern master, and like I did for the front panel, it's going to be a straight line. I'm using the straight part of my pattern master to do this. Okay, so having done this, I'll simply go ahead to cut out the yoke just like we did for the front panel. Like I mentioned, that the upper part of the corset dress is going to be a yoke. Okay, so I'll go ahead to cut it out. Okay, this is it. We have our yoke separated from the lower parts of the dress. So I'll go ahead to label this as A sub B. Sub B means back. That is A, section A for the back part of the corset dress. So I'll simply go ahead to cut out the darts for the lower part of the back pattern, and I'm going to use this to tighten the back. Okay, so I'm basically using the waist dart to tighten the back parts of our corset dress. Okay, so having done this, I'll simply go ahead to label this as B sub B and then C sub C. Like I said earlier, sub B means back, so B for back and then C for the back. Okay, so we have the back panel well assembled too. Okay, so guys, this is basically the panels for this illustration. I mean the front and the back, as you can see. So I went ahead to ensure that the halter line for the front and back is uniform. So as you can see, it's very symmetrical. Okay, and I think this is good. Okay, so we will simply proceed to drafting the pattern for our cape. So guys, to draft the cape pattern, this is not a tedious task. Just simply put your mind to it. Okay, so what I did was to place my pattern on fold like this as shown here. So this is good. I'll simply go ahead to place my pattern, my front pattern. You can use the front pattern or the back pattern, but basically I'll be using the front pattern. Okay, so I placed my pattern on this pattern paper, and this is going to be my guide. Okay, so I went ahead to mark this point here, as you can see me doing, and then simply from that point I'll simply use my measuring tape to measure about 6 inches. Okay, so from that point, okay, which I highlighted, I'll come down by 6 inches. Okay, between 5 to 6 inches to 7 inches is fine, or between, let's give a range of between 4 to 7 inches is fine. Okay, so depending on how you want your cape, so just try and be very creative at this point. Okay, so from that point I marked. Okay, I went ahead to place my round arm measurement. Okay, so around this region I placed my round arm measurement, which is, since the pattern is on fold, so half of it is 4, so it varies for different people. It could be 3.5, it could be 4, it could be 4.5. So right there at that point I marked 4 inches. Okay, so from that point, okay, using that guide there I just touched, I'm going to be placing my pattern paper, that is the armhole region. Okay, so I placed my pattern paper there and I drafted my armhole line using the guides. Okay, you can see the upper guide and the other one down there, so I'm going to be using it to draft my armhole. Okay, so firstly I drafted the neckline, and after drafting the neckline I'll go ahead to also draw the armhole line as shown here. Okay, okay, so having done this, I simply went ahead to determine the radius. Okay, so what I simply did was to measure 3 inches from the neckline. Okay, so as you can see, I'm marking 3 inches, and with these 3 inches, I'll use it to determine the radius of our cape. Okay, so I'll simply go ahead to draw a curve. So just watch me, you simply understand what I'm doing. Okay, so as you can see, I'm drawing a curve towards this region. Okay, okay, so measuring this curve, I'm having around 4 inches, so this is okay, so it suits my round arm measurement. Okay, so I'll simply go ahead to extend this curve back to the neckline to give me the actual radius that I want. Okay, so guys, this is good. Okay, so this is fine. So having done this, I'll simply go ahead to determine the length of the cape. Okay, so the length of the cape is 2.5 inches. So from that point, I'll measure 2.5 inches and I'll simply do the same till I get to the end. Okay, so this is 2.5 and then this is 2.5 and then this is 2.5. So having done this, I'll connect the points together. Okay guys, I'll simply go ahead to cut out the cape pattern and then we'll proceed to the neck collar, the collar for the turtleneck collar for this corset dress. So guys, to draft the turtle collar, what I simply did was to cut out a pattern paper, and as you can see, I have a line there which is going to be my guide. So what I simply did next was to determine the width of the front neckline. Okay, so after doing that, I went ahead to place it on my pattern paper. Okay, so right now I'm placing the width of the front neckline using the guide. Okay, so I'm highlighting it there and then I'll simply go ahead to draw a line. Okay guys, so I'll go ahead to label that part as the front. Okay, so I'll simply go ahead to do the same for the back. Okay, so with the zip allowance inclusive, I went ahead to take the measurement for the back neckline. So I'll be placing the total width on the pattern. Okay, so having done that, I'll go ahead to place it on the pattern paper and then I'll go ahead to draw a short line to establish that measurement. Okay guys, so having done this, what we'll simply do next is to determine the length of our band. So for me, 1.5 inches is fine. So I'll go ahead to mark 1.5 inches and then plus 1 inch seam allowance. 1 inch seam allowance, considering the fact that we'll be using half an inch below and then half an inch on top. So we're having a total length of 2.5 inches, okay? Okay, so I'm trying to draw a straight line to make it more understandable. Okay, so what I'll do for more clarity is to do what? Is to measure half an inch above and then half an inch below the 1.5, okay? So I'm using my pattern master to draw a straight line to establish the half an inch seam allowance below the band. So in between the seam allowance, we have the total length of our band. So this is half an inch. And then I'll go ahead to measure 1.5 inches and then half an inch seam allowance above. So a total length of 2.5 inches, okay? So guys, I hope you understand the whole process, and if you have any question, please leave it in the comment section. Okay, so this is the band for this illustration. Okay, yeah, so having done this, we'll simply move over to the next stage. So guys, I simply used the pattern to cut the fabric. We have different fabric on my work table. We have Ankara fabric, we have Duchess, and we have illusion nets I'll be using for the yoke. Okay, so as you can see, I cut the cape on fold, and we have two pieces here for both arms, and then the band, okay, I also cut on fold, and then we're having two pieces. I'll be placing right sides hitting each other, and then I'll flip, and then I also have the back section, the lining as well. There we have the lining, and then we have the main fabric. Okay, so this is it, and that is that. Okay, so what we'll simply do next is to join our panels together. Okay, so guys, as you can see, I've assembled the front panel and the back panel separately, and I'm here to attach the cup. So this is the cup. See how relaxed the seam is, and I also used a hard fusible interface for the cup, popularly known in Nigeria as the hard stay. Okay, and then I kind of relaxed my seam. I top stitched it, and I always lay emphasis on the benefits of top stitching. Okay, so having done this, I'll simply go ahead to attach my bias tape before attaching my cup to the front panel. So this bias tape I made from my Ankara fabric. Okay, so I'll use it, and I'll use it as a form of embellishment for this dress. Won't be adding any boning to it. We'll just simply place it there, and then we'll run it, we'll top stitch. After top stitching it, I'll go ahead to cut off the excesses, and then I'll proceed to the next stage of attaching my cup. Okay, so virtually I've talked about how to attach this cup. You place it, ensure that it aligns, and then you secure it, and then you run your stitch. Okay, so I'll do this, and then we'll get to see the result of what we have done so far. Okay, so guys, you can see how beautiful it's looking already after attaching the cup to the front panel. This is the back view. See how neat it is. And I also went ahead to use that shiny stuff, permit me to call it an applique, to also design the cup. Okay, so it's just trying to be creative. Okay, so what I'll simply do next is to attach the yoke, but basically I attach the yoke on the lining piece first before having to place it on the main fabric. Okay, so what I'll simply do here is to place it right sides facing each other. So I'll go ahead to secure the center point first. So I'll use a pin to secure that point. It's very important you start from there so that you don't have any kind of shift when you're joining. So that point goes first. So I'll go ahead to secure it, and then I'll secure the rest, the remaining part, and then I'll go ahead to run a stitch on that point. Okay, so guys, as you can see, we have net on the attached to the lining. So the next thing to do is to place it on the main fabric. Okay, so you can see I had to put it in this way. Okay, right sides facing each other, and I have the net in between the lining and the fabric. Okay, so I'll place this right sides facing each other, and then I'll secure the center point first. Okay, that point seems to be very important to me first, so I'll secure it first, and just like I did for the lining, I'll go ahead to also secure the remaining parts. Okay, I'll take this over to my sewing machine. I'll go ahead and run my stitch. Okay. So guys, after running the stitch, I'll simply go ahead to flip it over, okay, and then I'll top stitch to relax the seams. Okay, so this is it for the front. Okay guys, so I'll also do the same too for the back panel. I'll also place it right side facing each other, just like what I did for the previous, ensuring that we have the net in between, and then I'll secure it with a pin, and then I'll simply go ahead to run my stitch. Okay, flip it over and then do the top stitching to relax the seams, the seam for the dress. Okay, so this is what we have after attaching the net to the front and the back panel. So we'll simply go ahead to attach, to join the sides, the join the front to the back. Okay, so as you can see, for the back panel, I went ahead to secure the zip allowance so that we can take accurate body measurement when joining the front and the back without having to include the zip allowance in our measurement. So I'll place this right sides facing each other, okay, as you can see me doing. So I'll place the front and the back part of this dress right sides facing each other. Then I'll simply use my measuring tape to place the accurate measurement, which is the bust measurement on the chest line there. The under bust, very important for fitting, and then the waist measurements down there after the under bust. So that's the under bust measurement, and then this is the waist measurement. And I'll simply go ahead and run my stitch to join the front and the back together. So guys, you can see how beautiful it's looking already, and if you've watched to this point, please do not forget to give us a thumbs up. Okay, so what I'll simply do next is to attach the cape to the dress. Okay, so before attaching the cape, I'll simply use my measuring tape to measure 3 inches. I want you guys to simply remember that when drafting this pattern, I established the radius by 3 inches. Okay, so I'll go ahead to mark 3 inches there. Okay. Okay, so this wasn't clear enough. So I'll simply use a pin to kind of indicate that point. Okay, that 3 inches mark there. Okay, so this is okay for me. So I'll simply go ahead to place the cape at the back of the net against the front. Okay, so I'll simply use my pin to secure it at the back, and after doing this, I'll stitch it and then I'll flip it against the front. Okay, so just watch me, you simply understand the process. So after doing this, I'll simply run my stitch and then I'll flip it over to the right side. But before flipping it, ensure that you relax the seam, okay? It will really help a long way to place this cape on the right side. Okay, so when I place it on the right side, I'll top stitch, and then yeah, this is what we have. I actually did this for the right and the left side of the dress. So we have the front and the back, and then we have this part unattended to. So what I'll simply do here is to tuck this inside. Okay, just watch me. I'll simply tuck this inside, and then I'll top stitch it to close the raw edges there. So I also do the same for the other side. I'll tuck it inside and then I'll top stitch. Okay, so yeah, this is all for the cape. Okay, So having done that, I'll go ahead to attach the collar rather, for the turtleneck collar. So I'll place this right sides facing each other. I'll run a stitch, I'll flip it over, and then I'll attach the collar. This is the collar neatly attached. Yeah, maybe I should do a detailed illustration on how to attach a turtleneck collar, and if you feel there's need for it, please let me know in the comment section, okay? And then the lower part, I just attached a pleated ruffle at 102 inches, which is my waist circumference multiplied by 3, and then I hemmed the lower part with a double fold, okay? So it's just a pleated ruffle. It's not so much to worry about, okay? So yeah, this is the end of this video. I'll simply go ahead to attach my zipper, and then yeah, we're good to go, okay? So yeah, so this is the end of the video. This is the outcome of our dress, looking so lovely. So kindly subscribe and then give us a thumbs up. Bye.